We will begin by discussing the topic exponential functions. An exponential function is of the form y equals b to the x power. So this x is an exponent. Or you could say f of x equals b to the x power. And in our exponential function, b is called the base, and the variable x is the exponent. And b must be a positive number, so greater than 0, but b cannot equal 1. If b were equal to 1, then 1 to any power is 1, so that wouldn't give us any information about the function. So we're going to start out by graphing the function y equals 2 to the x power. And I'm going to go ahead and put that in my calculator. And so I'll push the 2 and then the little caret and then x, and then I'm going to press zoom 6, or the standard window. And from that, I want to get some points that are on this graph. So I'm just going to use my trace value and list some points. Let's choose -2. And for -2, I get 0.25. Now that's the same thing as 2 to the -2 power. If I do 2 to the -1 power, I get 0.5. 2 to the 0 power, anything to the 0 power is 1. Let's put a 0 in and see that our y is 1. 2 to the first power is 2. And 2 to the second power is 4. Now you can arrive at these y values by substituting the x values into the actual equation, or you can just look at the graph and press the trace. So I'm going to plot those points. And what you will notice, even though the calculator looks like this graph is touching the x-axis, this graph will never cross the x-axis or be equal to 0. 2 to the x can never equal 0. And so when you draw your curve, and I think I've drawn the wrong point here, this should be 2, 4. So when you draw your curve, draw it so that it approaches but does not cross the x-axis. The x-axis is your asymptote. Looks like my marker's given out, but we'll try that. So I'm going to put a dotted line on the x-axis. That shows me that my graph approaches the x-axis but does not cross it. So our asymptote is the x-axis, and the equation for the asymptote is the line y equals 0. Now let's talk about our domain. We used negative numbers, we used 0, and we used positive numbers for x. And we have arrows on both ends of that graph. So our domain is -infinity to infinity. Our range is lowest to highest. And remember, I said it does not go below the line y equals 0. So our range is from 0 to infinity. Because we do not cross the x-axis, there is not an x-intercept. The y-intercept is 0, 1. Now what I need you to do is I need you to notice that in this graph our base was equal to 2. And any time our base is greater than 1, our graph is going to be increasing from minus infinity to infinity. Now in a moment we'll change our base so that it is not greater than 1 and we'll see what happens. Now when we get to our applications, this particular graph is increasing, and so that would show me that I have an exponential growth model. If our curve increases as we go from left to right on the graph.